Picture this, right? It's late on a Friday night.
Oh, I know this scenario.
Yeah, the office is completely quiet, just the hum of the air conditioner. You're staring at this glowing spreadsheet on your laptop, and the numbers at the bottom of the screen are looking, honestly, fantastic.
The dream scenario, right?
Right. I mean, revenue is up, the income statement shows massive growth. On paper, your business is just a runaway success. But, and here's the catch, your stomach is completely in knots.
Because you know the actual truth.
Exactly.
What?
Because despite what that magical spreadsheet says, you know for a fact that you do not actually have enough cash in the checking account to pay the payroll that's due on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let alone the suppliers who are going to be, knocking on your door on Wednesday.
It is an incredibly stressful position to be in. And, it really highlights this fundamental contradiction in how we view corporate success.
Right.
We tend to think of business viability as this clean, binary state, like you're either making money and you're safe, or you're losing money and you're in trouble.
Exactly. It's black or white.
But the reality of financial operations reveals that those two states can actually overlap.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be highly profitable and completely broke at the exact same time.
Which is wild. Your spreadsheet says you're rich, but your bank account says you're practically insolvent. And so today, we are doing a deep dive into research from Greystride.
Yeah, the strategic growth partner for transport companies.
Right. And they explain exactly why this happens. They recently published this breakdown titled, Why Profit on Paper Doesn't Equal Cash in the Bank. And we're going to use their insights to basically dismantle this specific financial illusion.
And this dynamic applies directly to you, the listener, whether you're running a massive fleet of logistics trucks or, I don't know, managing a small freelance graphic design business.
Oh, for sure. Or just simply trying to understand the mechanics of how corporations actually survive in the real world.
Yeah, because understanding this distinct mechanical difference between profit and cash, that's the dividing line between a business that simply survives, usually by the skin of its teeth, and one that grows with, intentional stability.
Absolutely. So to understand why a bank account can be totally empty while an income statement shows a massive win, we first have to fundamentally rethink the word profit.
We really do.
Because our brains naturally equate profit with, money in my pocket. The basic logic is I sold a thing for $10, it cost me $5 to make, therefore I have $5 sitting right here in my pocket.
Right, which is a really dangerous oversimplification.
Yeah.
Because profit is purely an accounting result. It measures the economic value you created over a specific period of time, not the actual physical cash you collected.
Oh, that's an important distinction.
Yeah. Profit includes sales you've made, but, haven't actually been paid for yet. And it also includes expenses you've incurred, but haven't actually paid out to your vendors yet.
Right. And Greystride focuses heavily on industries like transport and logistics, where this specific accounting illusion is particularly dangerous.
Mostly due to those really long payment cycles.
Exactly. So let's put this into a tangible context for everyone. Counting profit before the physical cash arrives is like a restaurant owner claiming they had a wildly successful Friday night because they handed out 100 IOUs to their customers.
That's a great way to look at it.
I mean, sure, the dining room was packed, everyone ate the food, the inventory in the kitchen is completely gone, and the chefs absolutely need to be paid their wages tonight.
Right, the costs are real.
But the cash register is totally empty.
Yeah, and let's take that restaurant analogy a step further to see why the illusion really breaks down. If that same restaurant owner takes that stack of IOUs to the bank on Monday morning to pay their commercial mortgage,
They get laughed at.
the bank will literally laugh them out the door. You cannot pay a physical liability with a theoretical asset. And beyond just unpaid invoices, profit calculations also include non-cash items like depreciation, which honestly just further warps the whole picture.
Okay, let's unpack depreciation really quick because it's one of those financial terms that gets thrown around in boardrooms all the time, but it's rarely explained in plain English.
Yeah, it confuses a lot of people.
So what is depreciation actually doing to that profit number?
Think of it this way. If you buy a massive freight truck today for, say, $200,000,
Okay.
you don't take a $200,000 hit on your profit statement this month. The rules of accounting recognize that this truck is going to generate value for your business over the next, let's say, 10 years.
Right, it's a long-term asset.
Exactly. So you spread that cost out. You might record a depreciation expense of $20,000 a year for a decade.
Okay, so my profit for this year is artificially lowered by $20,000, even though I didn't write a $20,000 check to anyone this year.
Correct. And conversely, if you paid for that truck with cash up front, $200,000 physically left your bank account on day one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your cash reserves took a massive immediate hit. But your profit and loss statement only shows a modest $20,000 dip for the year.
That's crazy.
So your profit looks incredibly healthy, while your cash is completely gone.
See, that makes me wonder, why would anyone design a system like this? If cash is the actual lifeblood of a business, why do accountants use a system that obscures short-term liquidity? Like, why not just track the physical cash and ignore the theoretical profit entirely?
Well, accrual accounting, which is the system that creates this profit number, it's designed to match revenue to the specific expenses that generated it.
Okay.
It gives investors and owners a highly accurate picture of a company's long-term economic viability. It tells you if your core business model actually works.
I guess that makes sense.
Because if you only tracked cash, a highly profitable company would look like it was totally failing in the month it bought new equipment.
Oh, right, because of that massive cash drop.
Exactly. And a failing company would look highly successful in the month it finally collected on a really old invoice. Accrual accounting smooths out those spikes to show the true trajectory.
But the catch is, it requires you to manage the short-term cash flow completely separately.
You hit the nail on the head.
Which brings us to the physical movement of the money. I think we should map out a single, tangible scenario to show exactly where this cash gets trapped.
Let's do it.
Let's walk through the timeline of a standard trucking run using the South African logistics market, which Greystride frequently references as an example.
Okay, so let's say it's day one. You accept this massive contract to move a load of freight across the country.
Sounds like a win.
Right. But to even start the engine, you need diesel fuel. You need to pay for routine maintenance. You need tires. And the gas station, well, they don't care about your new contract.
Nope, they want their money.
They need a credit card swipe today. So cash immediately leaves your bank account.
And then we hit day 7. The trip is done, the goods are delivered, and your driver needs their weekly paycheck.
More cash out the door.
Exactly. More cash leaves the bank account. You are now heavily out of pocket, but you have successfully completed the service.
And at this point, you send the invoice to your client. Let's say it's day 30 by the time the paperwork is processed. Your accountant records the revenue.
Okay.
On your income statement, you just made a fantastic profit margin on that run. You look successful. But at industries like logistics, 30, 60, or even 90-day payment terms are standard.
Wait, so your money is legally trapped with the client for the next 3 months, your cash balance is completely negative, but your profit looks great.
Yeah. And while you were waiting in this, like 90-day purgatory, day 45 arise, the monthly financing payment on the truck itself is due to the bank.
Uh-oh.
And this introduces a massive structural timing gap related to how debt is recorded, which is really the core difference between an income statement and a balance sheet.
Walk us through that mechanical difference. Like, why does paying the bank for the truck loan trip people up so badly?
Okay, so the income statement tracks what you consume, things like fuel, driver wages, office supplies.
Stuff you burn through.
Exactly. When you consume those things, they lower your profit. But the balance sheet tracks what you own, which are your assets, and what you owe, which are your liabilities.
Okay, I'm with you.
When you make a $5,000 monthly loan payment on a truck, you are not consuming an expense. You are taking one asset, your cash, and using it to reduce a liability, your debt.
Wait, so the principal portion of that loan payment doesn't even show up on the income statement as a business expense?
It doesn't. Only the interest portion hits the profit and loss statement.
That is wild.
So you look at your profit report at the end of the month, and it doesn't reflect the massive chunk of cash you just handed over to the bank to pay down the principal on the fleet.
Wow.
Your profit stays artificially high, giving you this false sense of security, while your cash is just quietly bleeding out to service the debt.
Okay, wait, let me stop you right there. If I have a guaranteed invoice from a massive, reliable logistics client saying they owe me $100,000 in 90 days, can I just take that invoice to the bank today and get a line of credit?
You mean use it as collateral?
Yeah. Like, if the money is contractually guaranteed, why is this timing gap considered a fatal crisis?
I mean, you absolutely can take that invoice to a financial institution. It's very common practice known as invoice factoring or discounting.
Right.
The bank will advance you the cash today so you can make payroll. But there is a massive catch.
There's always a catch.
Exactly. The bank takes a percentage fee for providing that service. So if your profit margin on that trucking run is only, say, 8%, and the bank takes a 3% fee to front you the cash,
Oh, wow.
you just gave away nearly half of your actual profit margin.
So you solved the immediate cash flow problem, but you severely eroded the fundamental profitability of the business in the process. You're basically paying a premium just to access your own money.
That is exactly the trade-off. If you rely on expensive debt to bridge this timing gap constantly, you will eventually hollow out the business from the inside.
That makes total sense.
Your bank balance will stay afloat, sure, but your actual profitability will shrink until it can no longer sustain operations.
You know, this brings up what I think is the most counterintuitive part of the Greystride piece, because we are so conditioned to believe that if a business is struggling, the absolute best cure is to just sell more.
Right. Just hustle harder.
Yeah, like if cash is tight, get more clients. But the research points to a specific scenario where success is actually the biggest threat.
Yeah, taking on massive new contracts is like an airplane accelerating down a runway for takeoff. It burns the absolute highest amount of fuel before it ever even leaves the ground.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Growth is a massive consumer of cash. It requires what accountants call working capital.
Define working capital for us in this context, just so everyone's on the same page.
So working capital is the physical money you need to keep the lights on and the trucks moving while you wait to get paid.
Right, that gap, period.
Exactly. If you decide to double your client base tomorrow, you have to double your fuel consumption today. You have to double your payroll today. You have to incur double the wear and tear on your vehicles immediately.
But the revenue from those new clients won't arrive for another 60 to 90 days.
Exactly. Which means the faster you accelerate your growth, the wider that cash deficit becomes.
Oh, I see.
If you run out of runway before you hit takeoff speed, meaning your working capital dries up before the invoices are paid, you don't just gently roll to a stop, you crash.
Yeah, businesses do not typically fail because they are unprofitable. They fail because they run out of cash.
It's the ultimate truth.
It does not matter if people owe you $1 million. If your checking account hits zero, suppliers stop delivering fuel, the vehicles stand still, and the game is literally over.
A business that looks wildly successful on paper can become radically unstable overnight if growth isn't meticulously matched with cash reserves. This is what we call the paradox of growth.
The paradox of growth.
Unmanaged expansion will strain your cash position to the breaking point, even while your profits are just soaring.
Okay, so how do we bridge this specific gap? Because if the stakes are literally survival and blind growth is a trap, how does a business owner move away from being a passive profit watcher and become an active cash controller?
So Greystride outlines a very clear operational shift for this. The very first habit you have to break is relying on month-end accounting reports to understand your financial health.
Yeah, they really emphasize that.
A month-end profit and loss statement is essentially an archaeological dig. It tells you what happened weeks ago. It is historical data.
Navigating a business using only a month-end report is like driving a car by only looking at a map after you've already missed your exit.
Exactly.
You need real-time GPS data to know if you can actually make the next turn.
And to get that real-time data, you have to track your cash flow weekly. You need to forecast exactly what physical dollars are coming in this week, what physical dollars are going out, and where the immediate gaps are.
Visibility.
Visibility creates control. Once you have that visibility, you can tackle the timing gap directly through aggressive debtor management.
Because that 90-day waiting period we talked about, that isn't a law of physics, it's a negotiated term.
It is entirely negotiable. Setting clear payment terms from day one, implementing a system for consistent follow-ups, and addressing payment delays early that can transform a balance sheet.
I bet.
I mean, if you can negotiate your average collection time down from 60 days to 45 days, you instantly inject 2 weeks of working capital back into your business. You significantly reduce your reliance on expensive bank factoring.
The source also points out that profit itself is deeply misleading if your pricing doesn't reflect your granular physical costs.
Yeah.
You cannot just guess at your margins.
No, you can't. You need absolute clarity on your true cost per load. Like, what is your precise fuel consumption per mile? What are your maintenance trends? How quickly are you burning through tires? If you do not track those specific numbers, you will likely accept new contracts that look theoretically profitable, but are actually just draining your cash reserves with hidden operational costs.
Which leads to the final and perhaps most crucial piece of the puzzle here, planning for growth rather than just chasing it.
Yes?
Before you accept a massive new contract, you have to look at your weekly cash forecast and ask the really hard questions.
Can your current cash flow actually support the upfront fuel and payroll costs of this new work. Do you have enough of a cash buffer to survive the 90-day wait until this new client finally pays their first invoice?
That's the real test.
Sustainable growth is intentional. It requires the discipline to occasionally turn down new revenue if the short-term cash drain would jeopardize the stability of the entire operation.
It's so true. When you finally understand these mechanics, when you see exactly how the income statement and the bank account move at entirely different speeds, the constant reactive pressure of running a business actually begins to lift.
Oh, absolutely.
You stop relying on the magical spreadsheet and start managing the actual physical resources.
The psychological shift is profound. You move from a state of constant, low-level anxiety to making strategic decisions with absolute clarity.
Yeah.
The business stops feeling like this machine you're constantly having to feed, and it becomes a system you can actually control.
We've covered a vast amount of mechanical ground today. I mean, dismantling accounting illusions and mapping out the harsh physical reality of cash flow. To wrap up this deep dive, there's a quote directly from the Greystride source material that I think perfectly distills everything we've explored.
I don't know one.
Yeah, it says, "Profit tells you if your business can work. Cash flow tells you if your business will survive."
That is exactly it. And if we take that core insight that rapid, unmanaged growth can quietly drain the lifeblood of a structurally sound system, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
Take a moment to look at your own life. Your career trajectory or your industry, whether it's taking on a demanding new side project or accepting a high-profile promotion that requires a massive upfront investment of your personal time and resources,
Oh, that's a good point.
or even moving to a more expensive city for a perceived opportunity.
Hmm.
Is it possible that sometimes intentionally slowing down your own growth is the most strategic, powerful thing you can do to guarantee your ultimate survival?
Wow. Because as we've learned today, sometimes the spreadsheet lies. And handing out IOUs definitely won't keep the lights on.
Definitely not.
Survival isn't about how fast you can grow on paper. It's about whether you have the actual resources to sustain the journey.